Hi everyone, Jasmine here, and welcome to my December blogging Q&A. So for those of you where this is your first time joining, hi, I'm Jasmine. I have two blogs, Miss Millennium Magazine and Blogging Money Life. Blogging Money Life is the channel you're on right now to watch this Q&A. And I like to do this monthly Q&A just to answer any questions anyone may have about blogging and also just be able to sit and talk blogging with other people who like to talk about blogging. So I'm here. Hi. So the way it works, you have questions. It can be related to what I'm talking about. It can be related to um, something that was just on your mind when it comes to blogging, and you post them in the chat on the right. So I'll show you an example. Post your questions here. Okay. So you should see that pop up on the right. And when you ask your questions there, I pull them to the screen as well. So when you have questions, I'll answer them and I'll make sure that it's on the screen while I'm answering. That way everyone knows what the question is and what the heck I'm talking about, regardless of what time they may join the call. So yeah, that's that. A little about myself. I mentioned I have two blogs. I've been blogging since 2010, so a while. Been blogging for a while, and I really enjoy it. I love just this industry and seeing how things have morphed and things have changed when it comes to blogging and content in general, I should say, because it's not it's not just about having a blog. There's so many other things that go into um, this business, and I should say more wholly content creation, because it involves social media, it involves video, it involves I don't know, just a variety of different content creation elements, and then all the tools that go along with creating different content. So yeah, just speaking more generally, I think that's where it really comes down to. So anyway, I am here to answer your questions. Post them in the chat. And what I typically do during these sessions while I'm waiting for questions is I come with a topic to talk about with all of you. And I'm doing my call a little early this month. I usually do the last Wednesday of the month, and I'm doing that a bit earlier this time because the last Wednesday of the month this year is Christmas. So just doing this a week earlier. Christmas is next week. Can you believe that? Just so crazy. Anyway, something I wanted to talk about is a couple of things. The first is things that I like to do this time of year when it comes to my blog. And then the second thing I wanted to talk about is just the importance of change and pivoting. Like I mentioned when I first joined just a couple of minutes ago, one thing that I really enjoy about blogging is that this industry has changed so much, and you have to be able to change with it. And I'm in a unique position to be able to talk about some of those changes that I've witnessed over the last almost 14 years um, when it comes to blogging and everything that's content creation online. And I want to speak to what that has looked like in the past and what I have seen in regard to who's been successful and who hasn't been, um, just for us to keep in mind going forward. Um, and just to give you a little bit of a sneak peek into what the big revelation is that I've witnessed over the years is that innovators win in this space. So the people who are not afraid to take chances and be one of the first to try something new are usually the ones that have success later on, and continue to have success. So I can give you some examples. I started my blog in 2010, like I mentioned, and to give you a good picture of what this was like, what 2010 was like from an internet marketing perspective. I had recently got my first job and I was a social media manager. So social media at that time was Twitter and Facebook. Those are the social medias. And then LinkedIn was there, but LinkedIn was this obscure type of social media that was more so for people who are looking for a job. You get a LinkedIn profile because you need to look for a job. So that's where we were. And like for many of the platforms that we know and love today, they didn't exist. And I do remember when Twitter started, because that started in like 2008. So I wasn't doing any like internet marketing myself at that time, but I was there for that space and seeing the excitement around it and how Twitter was so different from Facebook, because prior to Facebook, we had MySpace. And MySpace was like the first Facebook, pretty much, but you learn how to code there. So coming from MySpace and Black Planet to Facebook, it just felt very similar, except, wow, it's like MySpace, but I can do less work. I do less work. And it's not as customized, but you do less work, so that's fine. It's okay that it's not as customized. But I specifically remember something I do remember, one of the biggest changes I witnessed in my career in content marketing was when Facebook decided to start having businesses involved. So Facebook went through, I know many of you remember, a metamorphosis on its own many times. The first was letting people who weren't in college join Facebook, because at first it was only college students. You had to have a college email address to log into Facebook. And then they started letting everybody in. And for a lot of people, they thought, oh, I don't want to be on the same social media platform as my mom or my grandma, and just all these conversations like that. So you saw a lot of people leave Facebook, but what that did for Facebook is it made it this massive place now where there was way more people to market to. But then they brought in Facebook pages that came along with that. So Facebook pages, which were for businesses. So you can have a Facebook page, and then there was Facebook advertising. So those things all happen in quick succession of one another. For the people who adopted a Facebook page off the bat and was like going and making sure that their blogs were on Facebook and posting and their content there, they won out. Those are the Facebook accounts you see where they have millions of followers, and you're just like, wow, how did this person get this many followers? A lot of blogs who got in there early, it was a lot easier to get followers, to get more people to engage in your content. When it comes to a new platform and joining early and really learning it, and this is why it's difficult, because it's the Wild West, right? There's no courses to teach you how to learn it. You're figuring it out on your own. You're in spaces where people are also figuring it out, and you're working together with those people so that you can figure out those strategies with one another. And mostly it's about just knowing who is similar enough to you and following what they're doing so that you can see some success, like they're seeing success. And what I found is, I joined those channels, but I wasn't in there like pushing hard like I should have. It was so easy to just post something and like see a lot of traffic and think like, oh, wow, this is nice. This is nice that people are engaging with my content, but I wasn't doing anything to really build that up. And so anyway, I went on to see this happen many times. Instagram came along, and that was another one where a lot of people were dragging their feet about it because it was so different from Twitter and Facebook. And with Instagram, it was all about photos. And with Twitter and Facebook, you're just posting words. Occasionally, you can add pictures to Facebook and you can share different things on Facebook, but a picture wasn't necessary. Whereas Instagram, you need to have something visual to have there. And around that same time, Pinterest came out, which a lot of people were comparing Pinterest and Instagram to one another because they're both very visual social media channels. And what was interesting about these platforms is that they kind of attracted a different type of person. You saw a lot of people who were fed up with Facebook and being on there with their parents or their grandparents go over to Instagram because they were less likely to use those channels. Not saying that they weren't, but they were less likely to. Um, and I don't know, it just became a little bit more sophisticated. Whereas I feel like Facebook, I mean, it became more sophisticated in some ways too, but they made it's almost like the changes that Facebook makes are to make it easier to use, make it easier for this mass of people who are using the tool to use. Whereas Instagram was adapting more, I guess, new agey thinking, appealing to a younger audience, a new generation of people, and social media, what that means for them. And at this time, I believe Snapchat came out a little bit after that. Um, and Snapchat, for all of its, however many people use it or don't use it anymore, led the way for a lot of platforms. I think one, how Instagram is now. Instagram made a lot of changes based on how Snapchat was operating. And TikTok, I think TikTok took a lot of elements from Snapchat too. So anyway, I just kept seeing this over and over again. And by the time Pinterest came out, I jumped on that one. That was one where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be left in the dust anymore. I've seen this happen over and over again, and it's time to make some moves. So by the time Pinterest came out, I jumped on there pretty early, and I feel lucky having done that because not only did I get a lot of traction from Pinterest, it quickly became one of the top drivers of traffic for me to my blog, and continues to be. I mean, I've mentioned this before, but like Pinterest, even when they were doing all their goofy stuff, um, with Pinterest changing their algorithm and just doing things that made you think like, well, how would you do this? This doesn't benefit us. It's all been great for me. They never made a change that negatively impacted my traffic in a way similar to like what Google is doing right now. So even with all the changes they've made, I think Pinterest continues to be a platform that is for influencers. And that's even more so with all the changes that Google is making. And then I think something else that's kind of creeping in when it comes to just SEO that I feel like a lot of people aren't talking about is ChatGPT, because as Google has continually gotten worse with their search algorithm, like worse meaning it's hard to find things that we used to be able to find easily on Google. I feel like ChatGPT is picking up the pace and trying to do it way better than Google. And in some cases, I think they already have a search engine that they're developing. So I think that's going to be a big game changer when it comes to just overall search engine optimization. So that's one thing that if there's a way to get in to get in as a publisher with ChatGPT, I would say you need to go for it. Now, let me see here. I think there's a code you can add to your website currently, and it's like invite only, which I have the code, I believe, on my site. Let me see here. I'm trying to see if I can grab the link for you so that you can sign up for it to be on the waiting list. But it's one of those things where you want to just stay ahead of the curve for some of these things. Thinking about the future as well, and things that I think you should be looking out for where you can get ahead and not be one of the laggards, and eventually you get to a point where you're like, well, I can't really get any traffic with Facebook unless I pay for it. Or I can't really get any traffic with this platform unless I pay for it. You got to get in early. The early bird gets the worm for sure. Let me see here. Publisher for ChatGPT. Let me just grab it for you. Okay. I'm going to grab this really quick, and then I'm going to keep talking about things you also need to look out for. Huh. Code website for ChatGPT. Oh, wow. You can add ChatGPT API to your website so that people can search ChatGPT from your site. Pretty cool. But I was looking more so for a code that you can put on your site so that you show up for ChatGPT search engine. ChatGPT search engine. One moment. And I can't find it because I'm searching on Google, of course. So something to be mindful of. I know it exists. I know there's code that's on my website, and I got it from my developer, but I'm having a hard time finding how to make sure your website is up to date for it. Here it is. No, that's not it. Authors. All right. Anyway, I'm just going to give you the link to this information about ChatGPT search because I think it's relevant for anyone who wants to show up for search for ChatGPT. So here, let me put it in the chat here, and you can check it out yourself. All right. And I'm just going to do one more quick look for it. Nope. I don't see anything. All right. So there's that. ChatGPT. That's one that you want to make sure that you're aware of and you're trying to get ahead of it. And just start doing your research on how ChatGPT is going to change search for everyone and what you want to do to make sure that you're ready so that if people are searching on ChatGPT, you actually come up for it. All right. So that's one to be mindful of for the future. And another thing I think that we need to be thinking about is kind of how the political landscape is affecting social media right now in more ways than one. So, for example, Twitter. So Twitter is one where they, Elon Musk took it over. And for a lot of political reasons or just ethical reasons, a lot of people have decided to get away from Twitter because of Elon Musk. And that means that they're all going somewhere else. And the big question is, where are they all going? And the answer to that is they're going multiple places. Multiple places. So I can tell you a few of them that people are going to outside of Twitter that could really turn into something big and places where you kind of want to be in the case that, everyone's kind of swarming to different places. So the first one is Mastodon. I know that's a place where you have different communities, but it's being compared to a place where people are going instead of Twitter. Blue Sky is another one. Which is interesting about Blue Sky is that it is so similar to Twitter. Like it's easy to forget that you're not on Twitter on that platform. So that's another one where I've learned a lot of people are going. Threads. So Threads is another one that's been around for a while now, and it's pretty much Facebook's version of Twitter. So that's another place that people are going. So those are the three I hear the most for Twitter alternatives because of all the drama with all the changes Twitter has made, or I call it Twitter. Why am I calling Twitter? It's X now, including the name change for Twitter, it being X now. So Mastodon, Blue Sky, Threads. So those are some places where if you don't have an account on all three, you may want to have an account on all three just to cover your bases. Let's see here. Libros web saludos y benediciones. Benediciones desde Costa Rica. Hi, I'm also in Costa Rica. So thank you. Saludos a tu también. Um, all right. So I was just talking about like what I've witnessed being in this industry, being in internet marketing for the last almost 14 years. And what I've noticed is that whenever there's a new something emerging, the people who jump on those emerging things first are typically the ones that see the most success from it, because for a lot of new platforms, it's easier to get traffic. You don't have to pay for it, and they encourage people to join, and they give them benefits for joining early. So it's in your best interest to see where things are going and make sure that you are making a mark in those places. I talked about um, ChatGPT already, about how that's going to change search forever. It's already changing it. So it's a good idea to make sure that you are looking at how to make sure that you can rank on ChatGPT. And I sent you a link that I put in the chat there. I just thought about that search term. That's why I'm putting it in really quick before I forget it. So anyway, I talked about that. There's definitely some things that you can do to make it so that you show up on ChatGPT, so that people who are searching there instead of Google now, you can come up higher. So there's that. The other thing I was talking about just now is the political landscape, making changes to how we use social media. And I talked about how Twitter, now X, has a lot of people leaving that platform and going to different ones. And the platforms I'm seeing people go to the most is Mastodon, Blue Sky, and Threads. So if you don't have a page on those channels yet, you may want to do that, just so that you don't miss out on wherever everyone decides to end up. So that's another way that I feel like the political landscape is changing how we do social media. Another one, a big one, is TikTok. And I know TikTok has been a big um, a big place for people, for influencers to make money, for influencers to do just what they typically do, and make money and be able to influence. And TikTok is it's a unique place for that, because you can't just go to YouTube. YouTube is different than TikTok. Although YouTube does have YouTube Shorts now, so you still have an opportunity to monetize there. But the reason why I'm talking about TikTok is because, all right, let me get a sip of water. I'm talking about TikTok because the imminent TikTok ban. So that's supposed to happen January 19th, where it's going to be banned in the United States if something doesn't change. I know that as of today, the Supreme Court, they agreed to speak with the creators of TikTok about them appealing the decision to ban it in the United States. So we're going to see what happens from that. But no one wants, if you're the type of person where you're making money from TikTok and that is a part of your livelihood, you may want to look at some alternatives of places to go in case TikTok does go away. So a few places that you can go. You can look into, I think probably the most reasonable place to go in this case is Instagram, because Instagram has Reels, as well as Facebook. So Instagram, Facebook Reels. I see a lot of content that comes from TikTok and makes its way over to Instagram and into Facebook. But I think one of the biggest appeals for TikTok is its algorithm, because it's just so good at making sure that you see content that appeals to you, and not a bunch of crap where you're like, why am I seeing this? So not exactly the same, but you can rely on Facebook and Instagram like that like Meta has been around for a while. They're probably going to be around for a long time. So that seems like a safe bet if you want to go there. YouTube Shorts, I mentioned, that's another opportunity as far as where you could go with your content as well. And I mean, I've heard so many different TikTok alternatives that like are just coming out of the woodwork, but there's so many of them, and I haven't heard of one exactly that like stands out that everyone's going to. Like I know Lemonade, that's one that everyone's been talking about for a long time when they first started talking about the TikTok ban years ago. But I don't see a ton of people flocking there. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that one. And that's the only one I can think of, honestly, that really looks like an alternative outside of Instagram and Facebook. I guess, yeah, Snapchat is still out there as far as like being an alternative. I mentioned YouTube Shorts. But yeah, that's it. Some of these other ones, I feel like they're just kind of, yeah, they're just there. But we'll see. But it's good to still have some alternatives and see like where the tide is going in regard to the change, what's changing. And that's just on the social media side of things. So what else is changing when it comes to just the whole blogging environment? Google has changed immensely, and to the point where I feel like I've seen more people drop out of blogging and just stop blogging than I've seen ever at one period in time, I would say, than I've seen ever in like the entire time I've been blogging over the last 14 years. So yeah, it's very interesting to see how they're changing things, and it does like shake things up enough where you have to see that something drastic is is happening in that regard. So what that means for Google, it can mean that they are gearing up for something new. I know there's a period of time where bloggers were on Facebook, and Facebook was it. Like it was our number one place we would go to. A lot of people were saying it's their number one traffic source. And then they shook things up to the point where it was hard to get any traffic. If you were not an e-commerce seller, which that became their main priority. If you weren't an e-commerce seller and you weren't paying for ads, you're not going to see the benefits from Facebook. It didn't make sense to be there. And I remember the conversation being like, it's fine, keep your Facebook profile up, but don't think it's going to be a traffic source for you. And now, like, if you speak to most bloggers, Facebook is not even like in their top 5 in regards to like traffic. Whereas like for a long period of time, it was Facebook and Google. That's where people were getting most of their traffic, which I find very interesting. And I feel like that's kind of where we are with Google right now, where it went from, everyone's top 2 being Pinterest and Google, where to a point where maybe Google may not even be in our top 5 anymore. Now, the question is, what's going to take that place? I mentioned, I think it could be ChatGPT that's going to take that place. I think there's a potential for it being, I don't know, something new that may pop up and surprise us all. It could be, I know Google is incorporating AI into their search to make things a little bit better. So they may change some things drastically and make it so that their AI function is more focused on their search, so that if you get into the Google AI platform, similar to the ChatGPT platform, then you can get more traffic, or one of their competitors can really just pick things up. It can be Bing, it can be Yandex, who knows. So just some things to be mindful of whenever there's a big shakeup like this, I mean, it can mean nothing and things are going to go back to normal soon once Google comes to their senses, or it can mean that this is something that's just going to go away forever. And we need to get used to that and start adjusting to other things, which is, why it's so important to be able to pivot in this business, because it's always changing. There are always new things. There are always like things that you have to just adjust to. No matter how much time and effort you put into something, it can all go away tomorrow. And now you have to forget about that and move on to the new thing and learn all these new things again so that you can be good at that. And I'm telling you, if you can do that, if you can harness that skill where you can start over again and again and again, you'll be fine. But there's a lot of heartache and disappointment along the way. If you just accept that, yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be great, actually. So, yeah, that's my spiel. That's my little prediction. I'm just saying things out here. None of what I said is set in stone, for sure. But just based on what I've seen before, yeah, we're in a pivotal moment right now where things could go one way or the other. And there's so many opportunities for you to still get traffic to your website in just different ways, and some of the same ways you've been doing. It's just a matter of keeping your ear to the ground and seeing what changes and what happens. So yeah, that's what I have. That's why I wanted to talk to you all today, just to give you a little insight into what I've seen before, how things have changed, what I'm seeing right now, and just what it reminded me of, because it's so reminiscent of so many things I've witnessed. I've witnessed in all these years of blogging. And yeah, it's good to know that, one, we all know that history repeats itself, first of all. But I feel like when it comes to like the internet and just like technology, things just move so much faster. I feel like there's been so many generations already of different movements when it comes to content marketing and social media marketing and influencer marketing, just content creators online in general, that I think it's hard sometimes to get caught up in the minutia, the little details, the tactics of things that you need to be doing, that you should be focused on, that it's really easy to lose sight of the bigger picture. That is, it's change. Like, it's always going to change. There are always going to be new things. There are always going to be scary things. And if you can just look a little bit further out, get from the stuff that's like right in front of you, look a little further out as to what may be coming, and you'll be better prepared for the future. So yeah, that's all I got. I'm going to tell you guys a few announcements. And if you have any questions for me, post them in the chat and I'll make sure to get to them after my announcements. And if there's no questions, I'm just going to close things up a little bit early tonight. So a few things. One, I want you all to enjoy your holiday, whether that be Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, whatever. I will hope you have really, really good holidays next week. So there's that. My next Q&A won't be until the new year, 2025. Can you believe that? So January 2025, I'll be back at my normal time, the last Wednesday of the month. So I can see you guys there. And what else? What else did I want to tell you? I think that's it. Those are my announcements. Yeah, and I'll see y'all in January. I don't see any questions based on the things I talked about today, or any questions you may have about blogging in general. So if you have any that come to you after watching this, or if you're watching the replay, feel free to post your questions in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get an answer to you. But other than that, happy holidays, happy new year, and I will see you all in 2025. Bye.